I'm so honored to be with you today as we remember the life of Senator Joe Neal, forever the Westside Slugger. Joe was a trailblazer, a leader in the fight for justice, an unwavering champion for Nevadans, and a dear friend. Joe has a special place in my heart. From when we first met at Bonanza High School in the early days of my campaign in Nevada, Joe had my back. It's clear from all that Joe accomplished, from fighting against racial injustice to pushing economic reform. Joe knew that fighting for Nevada families meant tackling a wide range of issues. When things get tough in Washington, sometimes it helps to sit back and think for a moment about friends like Joe, who have never wavered in these fights. May his courage and his conviction live on in all of us as we work to create a better country. Joe Neal was a true American hero who paved the way and opened up opportunities for generations after him. My heart goes out to the Neal family. I'm sending you all my love, my strength, and my support. Joe, rest in power. We love you.
Thank you very much. It is a distinct honor and a humbling experience to be asked to say a few words today about a great Nevadan and a great friend, Senator Joe Neal. Joe served in the United States Air Force from 1954 till 1958. And after he left the military, he attended Southern University, where he earned his bachelor's degree. Joe served for 28 years in the Nevada Senate, where he served for 16 regular sessions and 7 special sessions, a record that'll never be broken with term limits. Joe was there. He became part of the institution. And Joe didn't represent the big companies, the conglomerates. Joe represented the little guy, the neighborhoods, the man you'd find on the street. That's where Joe found comfort, and that's where Joe found representation, that those were the people that he was closest to. He ran for governor twice and wasn't afraid to take on controversial issues and bring up topics that needed discussion. And we are forever grateful for him for that. Today we're lowering the flags to half staff in honor of Joe and the work that he's done and the man that he was. And the First Lady and I send our most sincere condolences to the entire Neal family, including his daughter Dina, who is our state senator in the same district where Joe was. My recollection of Joe was the last time I saw him and spent any length of time with him other than just a casual hello was when I went to a book signing. And Joe was there, and I got a copy of the autographed book, Westside Slugger, that John L. Smith wrote, and it was about Joe. And if you haven't read the book, take the time to do it. It's definitely on a must-read list. It tells you a lot about the man, what he did, but who he was. And for that, we are all eternally grateful. God bless you all. Thank you.
Like you, I was saddened to hear of the passing of our dear friend Joe Neal. But today is a time to honor the life he led and to celebrate the legacy that he left behind. Joe Neal was a caring, selfless individual who dedicated most of his life for the betterment of all Nevadans. Joe was a trailblazer, serving in the United States Air Force and giving over 30 years of service to Nevada State Senate, where he was the first Black state senator and a champion for civil rights and for Nevada's working class. His speeches on the Senate floor were legendary. His passionate and fiery delivery I remember so well, as his unwavering commitment to giving voice to all Nevadans. He was a friend, a mentor, and above all, he was a role model who left the doors of opportunity open wide for many who followed in his footsteps. Joe was truly the living embodiment of what it means to practice what you preach. Paul and I send our deepest condolences to his children, friends, and family during this difficult time. Today, the Silver State is a better place because of Joe. I have no doubt that his legacy will continue to inspire Nevadans for generations to come.
Hello, I'm Dina Titus. I want to express my deepest condolences to the family of Senator Joe Neal for their loss. I thank you for allowing me to share this message and attempt to put into words the extraordinary legacy of Joe Neal. Senator Neal devoted a lifetime to the pursuit of social justice for the African American community and economic equality for all working class Nevadans. I served with Joe in the Nevada State Senate for 13 years. He was a giant of a man, in stature, in principle, and in the impact he had on Nevada. Joe Neal was always willing to fight for what was right, even against the greatest odds. He may have been outnumbered, but he was never outsmarted. Joe led seminal bills to restore the rights of felons, build libraries in underserved communities, preserve Lake Tahoe, pass the Equal Rights Act of 1977, and force casinos to add fire prevention sprinkler systems, setting a national safety standard. Joe also knew the rules of parliamentary procedure better than anyone, and he advised me when I was first elected to learn them too, because that would give me an edge over my colleagues, and we could use process to our advantage, especially when in the minority. I'll never forget the night when the Republicans marched off the floor in a fit of pique and Senator Raggio forgot to formally adjourn. Joe noticed. He just waited until they'd exited the building. We then reconvened, had the legislative police round up 2 Republicans in their pajamas, so we had a quorum, and the Democrats proceeded to run the board. It was a historic move, and people still talk about it. I spent long hours with Joe over lunches after he retired from the Senate, and I'll miss those talks. He gave me advice. He told stories about the old days. He made predictions about political events and races. He had a laugh that could light up a room and a voice that could light up a movement. There's an elementary STEAM school named for Joe. He was very proud of that honor. So I admonished the children there to stop and take a moment to think about the school's namesake and send Senator Joe Neal a little thank you for giving them a better chance in life.
Sonia and I join the entire Nevada community in expressing our heartfelt condolences to the Neal family. We share in your deep loss for all that Senator Neal meant to your family, to the historic West Las Vegas community, and to the state of Nevada. As an intern in the Nevada legislature, I remember watching in amazement as Senator Neal delivered passionate speeches from the floor, hardly ever using prepared remarks. Senator Neal was a master parliamentarian and helped lay the groundwork for many of Nevada's legislative achievements, such as passing the Equal Rights Amendment. Following Senator Neal's retirement, I was honored to represent the 4th District in the state Senate, which he had so capably represented for 32 years. That same district is now represented by his youngest daughter, Senator Dina Neal, who continues to carry on his legacy of public service. Senator Joe Neal was more than a legislator. He was a statesman, a mentor, and a dedicated public servant. His achievements will be remembered by all of those whom he shared his knowledge, his legislative prowess, and his experience. He had the legacy of a champion, the Westside Slugger. Rest in peace, Senator Joe Neal.
It was an early May 2020 phone call from Withania Neal that changed my life forever. That's when she told me that her dad, State Senator Joe Neal, had been transported to the hospital. 1,000 thoughts and memories raged through my mind as tears flowed down my cheeks. And in those reflections, I bounced all over the place, and I landed on 1996 when I returned home from my televised debate in my first campaign. I didn't feel very good about it, and as I was walking through the door, the phone was ringing, and it was Senator Neal, and he said, "You're in." I hadn't believed that until that moment. However, his words elevated me. During my first year and my first session as a senator, I sat on the 3rd row. I was the least tenured senator there, and I would watch as I looked down on the chamber to what would be my left corner as Senator Neal would stand and share amazing wisdom and insights and passion through his orations on the floor. And I started to build a friendship. And we would spar at times. We might not agree, and we'd laugh a lot. And we established traditions. Every year on his birthday, we would have lunch at his favorite restaurant, and on my birthday, at my favorite restaurant. When Senator Neal chose not to run again and retire after 32 years, he was inducted into the Senate Hall of Fame. He sat next to me on the floor as I stood with great pride to honor him with my words, and spoken in a way that only passion could drive them. In 2019, Joe returned to Carson City to sit with me on the floor as I was inducted into the Nevada State Senate Hall of Fame. I think back to 2002 when Joe ran for governor. He shared with me that he had gone down to the election department just to see how it was going that final day of filing. And at about 5 to 5, he added his name to the list of candidates, and his was the solitary name from the Democratic Party for governor. He said we needed to have a Democrat on the ballot. And he shared with me the different campaign experiences he had, and usually had a lot of laughter along the way. In late October into early November, I was in the hospital having had surgery, and every day Joe visited me and sat with me for hours. Now, he probably should have been campaigning. However, he sat with me. And on election day, I was released. I came home, and for all those hours following my return into the wee hours of the morning after the election, Joe sat in that rocking chair next to my bed, rocking very gently to lend support to my recovery. In 2014, after my brother's death, I learned that my brother had some keepsakes that were family heirlooms that I would like to have, except they couldn't be mailed. Joe said, "I'll go get them." So he got in his car very early one morning and drove from southern Nevada up to Reno and an hour beyond into Northern California. Picked up the backpack of keepsakes, not a lot, but they were meaningful. He turned around and drove them home to me so that I could have them as soon as possible. The memories are so many. All those political debates we would watch together and not always agree with what we were seeing and then laugh about it. The many visits and the countless daily email messages that we exchanged and telephone calls. What a friendship we have grown for 25 years. And when I received a call early New Year's Eve from Withania, telling me that her dad had been transported to the hospital again, I still had hope that he would welcome the new year with the rest of us. And when I awakened on New Year's Day, I saw and listened to the voice message from Senator Dina Neal telling me the end was near. And that call had come in at 9:55 the night before. And I also saw the time on the text that Withania had sent me at 10:31 that her dad had transitioned. And it didn't register with me right away. However, it didn't take long for me to appreciate so much that the family allowed me to be with them, with their father in those final minutes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I cannot find words to tell you what that means to me. And one thing I can tell you about Joe is his energy is still alive. His energy continues to live within me and with the family and with everyone who shared space with him, with everyone who has heard his voice or read his words or studied his history. Joe Neal State Senator Joe Neal lives. He lives in, through, and as each of us in this moment and all those that follow. And for this and so much more, dear, dear friend Joe, I love you. I have loved you. You are my dearest friend. You have a special place in my heart in this moment, with this breath, and all those that follow.
This video is for Senator Joe Neal. I first met him probably 1980 when I was interviewing candidates for the Teachers Association and for their endorsements. And I still remember how delightful the senator was. He was so smart and witty, and that little chuckle of his. And he wowed the whole committee, and of course we endorsed him. This is Chris June Kiliani, former Assemblywoman and County Commissioner. I had the privilege of being elected in 1990 to the State Assembly. And one of the first things I did was go down the hall and ask to meet with Senator Joe Neal to talk about his advice. And he started calling me, our pet name was Baby Girl. And what he said was, Baby Girl, learn the rules. The rules, along with Mason's Manual, will dictate everything you can do, whether you move legislation forward or you try to take something back. And he was so spot on. He was always a confidant. We stayed in touch. We had lunches, usually at Landry's till they closed it. And then the last one I had was with him and Assemblyman Doug Bechet at Comal's in Commercial Center. And we had a delightful afternoon. He was on my Gray's Leadership Academy Board of Directors, a new program that I started up to educate young people, people of color, LGBTQ, young girls, on how do you access and work within the political scene. And I was so proud to have him as one of our first board members. He will be sorely missed. I have to say that he was my mentor, he was my friend, and I loved him. The state of Nevada is a better place because it's Senator Neal. Thank you.
Hello, I am Marshila Lyons, and I want to offer my sincere condolences to Senator Dina Neal and the entire Neal family on the passing of Senator Joe Neal. My family shares in your grief and in your remembrance of a life that was well lived. I met Senator Neal over 20 years ago when I started working at the Legislative Council Bureau in the Research Division. According to Senator Neal and others, I was the first African American committee policy analyst in Nevada legislative history. I was privileged to work with Senator Neal as he served the citizens of Nevada in his elected capacity. I was also honored to receive his counsel and encouragement. In those times when I felt inadequate because of my own lack of confidence or others' lack of confidence in me, Senator Neal reminded me that I was competent, qualified, and capable of meeting the demands of my job. His encouragement bolstered my confidence, and today I am proud to serve as the Deputy Research Director of the Research Division of the Legislative Council Bureau. In many ways, Senator Neal reminded me of my father, who was born in the same small towns in Louisiana. Upon meeting him and learning this, I wondered if all of the men born in that part of the country had big, booming voices and a formidable presence, as my father also fits into this category. Senator Neal used these gifts and all of who he was to serve the people of this great state. His mastery of legislative procedure and rules was unmatched, his oratorical skills were unrivaled, and his commitment to do what he believed was right was undeniable. Even upon his retirement, he still participated in the process and offered a voice to many when they felt unheard. I am grateful that my path crossed with Senator Joe Neal's, and I am humbled by the confidence he placed in me. I commit to his family to walk and work in such a way that the confidence he placed in me will never be considered in vain. Thank you all for sharing him with us, and we pray for God's strength, comfort, and healing during your time of bereavement. God bless you.
As the proud principal of Joseph Neal Elementary School, I speak for my entire school community when I say we're deeply saddened by the loss of our school namesake and role model. This would have been the 20th anniversary of Joseph Neal Elementary School. When I first met Senator Neal, he asked me all about myself and if the students were learning. I was a little nervous when answering his questions, hoping I would pass this test and that he would be pleased. What I remember most about Senator Neal's visits to our school was his larger-than-life presence at our opening of school ceremonies. He would sit outside in the forefront of the ceremony while being photographed with parents and students. Senator Neal proudly spoke to the crowd of students and parents about his own children who were educated in the district. Every year at this ceremony, he would tell of their accomplishments in life. He wanted to impress upon the students that they too could reach those goals if they did well in school. Senator Neal impressed me with his knowledge of Nevada history and his gift for storytelling. His visits to the school would always end with us sitting in the conference room, eating muffins and fruit, captivated by his stories of Nevada. I would always make him a small care package with leftover muffins. I was also impressed with Senator Neal's energy. The last time he visited our school, he had wheels on his walker. I could not keep up with him. His imprint on me as a principal and leader was to fight for what I think is right for the school and its students, even if it is not the popular thing to do. We will be remembered by the trails we leave behind is our favorite school motto. We will always remember the larger-than-life trails Senator Neal left behind with love and pride. Thank you for allowing me to share these remembrances with you.
My name is Linda Young, and these are comments for Senator Joe Neal. A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. Proverb 22:1. Death has been swallowed up in victory. 1 Corinthians 15:54. Senator Joe Neal had a good name, and his death has been swallowed up in victory. Hello to the family of Senator Joe Neal, to our beloved community family, countless friends, colleagues, and other special guests. Senator Neal's legacy and good work have 3 words: to be continued. We all know that someday we too will fly off this earth like Senator Joe Neal, but we must never consider that to be the end of our story either. Senator Joe Neal's good works will be continued not only on the other side in God's kingdom, but his legacy lives to be continued through this life in our beloved community in West Las Vegas, Nevada, through our student, staff, community, and especially through his family, his daughters, and his grandchildren. You see, Senator Joe Neal's death has been swallowed up in victory, and for that, we can all rejoice. But you might say, how can this happen? First, by the power of God's words and our committed actions. There's also power in our words that take on the names of people. For example, Joe or Joseph, and the words that they make up. In the Bible, Joseph is a biblical name, and they did many, many things in the Bible and on earth. But in this Joe, J-O-E, our Joe Neal, the J stands for justice. He was always interested in what was fair and just for people, and the O in Joe was about opportunities. He was always looking for opportunities for people that looked like him and that they could have equal access. And then the E in Joe was always about equality, what was fair, just, and the opportunities. So in honoring Senator Joe Neal, the Village Foundation will provide a $1,000 scholarship to a deserving high school student to attend the College of Southern Nevada. And Senator Joe Neal's picture and good name will be placed on a full page in the 2021 Village Foundation souvenir booklet. So Senator Joe Neal, this isn't goodbye. Goodbyes are the law of earth. Reunions are the law of heaven. Enjoy your spiritual time with the Lord, your wife, parents, other relatives, because your spirit, your legacy, your words, and your work are all summed up into these 3 words: to be continued.